Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and as usual I have a few announcements to start. And the first thing is to let you know what is being posted on the members site this week and next week. This week an interview with Don Mattis, who is the author of Powered by Plants. I have to say I read this book, thought it was awesome. It talks about the evidence supporting the fact that humans have eaten a plant-based diet for a very, very long time, that there really was no such thing as a population that lived on the paleo diet. And there were so many things I learned in this book that I didn't know before, and that posts tomorrow, so don't miss this. It's a great interview. Go online and listen to it at the member site. And I'm going to get Don to come and speak at one of our conferences here in Columbus because I think he really has a lot to share with us. Like I said, I learned a bunch, and I'm going to use his book as a textbook in some classes I teach. And then next week, Leslie Ziss will be interviewed. She is heading our foundation efforts and is the person who came up with this idea for healthy eating parents groups. And really this idea is taking off. I think you're going to be real interested in what she has to say and how you can use these ideas in your own community and school. And the last thing I want to mention is on the 23rd is the next advanced study program, and it's going to be about detoxification programs. So we're going to talk about the ones that work and the ones that don't, and the mythology about detoxification, and I think you're going to find this a really fascinating workshop too. So that's the upcoming stuff that you want to know about. Now today I want to talk about mammography, and if you're rolling your eyes saying, my gosh, does this woman want to talk about mammography a lot? The reason I keep talking about it is I'm still answering emails all the time in response to women who see these video clips and read my articles and books who are saying, I'm just terrified of what to do. My doctor's pressuring me to have a mammogram. I don't know if I should. My sister died of breast cancer, etc. So as long as the discussion goes on, I'm going to keep throwing out the evidence and telling you what's going on out there. So today, the update is, I'll just start by saying that Peter Gotchke, you might have heard me talk about him from the Cochrane collaboration. He wrote that fabulous book I reviewed a couple of years ago called Mammography, Truth, Lies, and Controversy. I'm sure he has wondered, along with his colleagues, if anybody was ever going to do anything about this growing body of evidence that says that mammography harms more women than it helps. Well, I'll give you some good news. I mean, it's a tiny bit of good news because we really don't know if it's going to make a big difference in practice, but the Swiss Medical Board has recommended that no new screening mammography programs be introduced, and that the ones that are already in place be eventually phased out. Screening mammography is not done in all parts of Switzerland, so this is an interesting area for this discussion to take place. Instead, the board recommends that mammography should be considered on a case-by-case basis, and that at any time when it's discussed, that the benefit and potential harms should be clearly communicated to the patient. And I guess, why do we need to pass rules about giving patients evidence about, the information about benefits and harms? I mean, that should be done anytime there's a medical decision to be made, but I don't want to digress so much. That's what they're saying. An essay published in the New England Journal of Medicine was written by two members of the Swiss Medical Board, and in it they wrote, "We were struck by how non-obvious it was that the benefits of mammography screening outweighed the risks." In other words, they were amazed when they look at the data at how unsubstantiated the claims about mammography were. Now, the board is respected in Switzerland by a lot of medical associations, just like we have similar United States bodies here that respect the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. But their recommendations aren't binding, and it is clear from the response, violent, angry, nasty response, that the recommendations, they're not ready to put them into use yet, and there's going to be a lot of resistance. Apparently, the medical profession in Switzerland and the cancer industry is just as recalcitrant there as it is here. The authors state, for example, that the recommendations were, quote, emphatically rejected by cancer experts, criticized as unethical, and many people stated that they contradicted, quote, the global consensus of leading experts in the field. In fact, we see this all the time. People who have an invested financial interest in the cancer business fight back on this kind of stuff, claiming, for example, that the board members in this case were not experts in the field of oncology. Well, the authors in this journal article responded by saying that the board was unprejudiced specifically because it and its members were not part of the cancer establishment. They were able to make objective observations and reach conclusions. In an email to Medscape Medical News, Daniel Copans, who's a professor of radiology at Harvard Medical School, called the panel, quote, "folks with no expertise." Well, this is a ridiculous allegation and a ridiculous diversion. The board was comprised of doctors, pharmacists, and researchers who are capable of reading and interpreting results from research studies. And the more you look at these studies, the more they clearly show that mammography screening does not benefit most women. Here in the United States, the American College of Radiology and the Society of Breast Imaging, they're also issuing statements. And I think one of the reasons they're so invested in this issue is that if Switzerland were, for example, to completely do away with mammography and refuse to pay for it and all that sort of thing, except for in isolated circumstances, that would maybe start the dominoes falling in other countries, including the United States. So I think that's why people on this side of the pond are screaming and hollering. Anyway, what they had to say is, quote, "the deadly consequences of the author's breast cancer screening recommendations to the Swiss government may take years to become evident." It's not surprising, again, financial interest. Well, the background on this, the review by the board was initiated in January of 2013. And at the time, at the beginning of the process, the board identified three major concerns. And the first one was that the debate about mammography, quote, was based on a series of reanalyses of the same predominantly outdated trials. The second concern was the relative risk reduction of only 20%, which means that the absolute reduction was considerably tinier. Did not consider false diagnoses and overtreatment, and that's a lot of what Gotchke talks about in his book. That's a lot about what my messages have been about, is the evidence showing that you save a few women, but you harm a whole lot more women with overtreatment. And last, they were, quote, disconcerted by the discrepancy between women's perceptions of the benefits of mammography screening and the actual benefits to be expected in reality. In the essay, the authors pointed out the overly optimistic, the terms they used, expectations of the public about screening, which in turn injure women's ability to, quote, make an informed decision. Consequently, the panel concluded that the benefits of screening do not clearly outweigh the harms. Well, we're going to have to wait and see if this actually makes a difference in medical practice, and it probably will in isolated cases, just like here in the United States, since this discussion has begun, and it's been going on for some time. There are doctors who are more conservative about ordering mammography, and certainly a growing number of consumers who are saying no. They email me and tell me, I'm proud of myself. I went to see my OB-GYN today, and she told me I needed a mammogram, and I said, nope, I'm not going to do that. So I know that there is a growing number of people who are standing up and saying no. We just need more of that to happen, and we need more government bodies, to the extent that they can be useful at all, coming out and saying that this is a bad idea. And what we really need is to dry up the funding for this stuff. We've got to get it out of the Affordable Care Act mandate. Well, I think maybe we need to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. There, I said it. Another politically incorrect thing that I talk about. But we need to get it out of the mandate, and we should stop having Medicare and Medicaid pay for it, get the insurance companies out from this ridiculous multi-billion-dollar expense every year. And let's focus on how women can really be helped, which is diet and lifestyle habits that prevent breast cancer. All right, that's all for today. I'll be back to you on Thursday, and as usual, please pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it.